Mr. Squires, in this subcommittee, there's been many discussions what diversity should mean. Too many people focus exclusively on identity diversity. In contrast, you've spoken about a need for a wider net diversity. What is wider net diversity, and why should it be a standard adopted to today's college campuses?
So put simply, when I talk about wider net diversity, I'm talking about extending and expanding opportunity to groups or individuals who may not have access to opportunity at a particular time. But the key for wider net diversity is to uphold the same standards across the board. Now, a perfect example of that from history, and where we could talk about real racial discrimination, I would say would be the Tuskegee Airmen, who obviously could not serve as aviators because of racial discrimination in the armed forces. But when those opportunities came, they demanded that they had to meet the same standards as their counterparts. And in fact, obviously they have a stellar service record and won the United States Air Force's first Top Gun competition in the late 40s. Now, wider net diversity I would contrast with lower bar diversity, which seeks to prioritize superficial identity categories in order to create a demographically representative population. So I'm always for wider net, and I think that lower bar does anyone a grave disservice.
Thank you. Ms. Soman, after the Supreme Court's decision against race-based admissions, some colleges and universities seem dedicated to continue the race preferences. If universities are practicing affirmative action called by another name, why should the courts consider these policies illegal?
Thank you. The name does not matter. What matters for the purposes of the law and the purposes of justice is whether or not universities are discriminating on the basis of race. If they're discriminating on the basis of race in admissions, even if they call that discrimination something else, it is illegal and they should be held to account.
Interestingly, faculty hiring has also been subject to race-based preferences. George Mason University published draft recommendations of a plan to enact race balancing by hiring staff to reflect the democratic diversity of the student population through diversity cluster hiring initiatives. This is just one example of professors being weeded out not by their expertise, but because they don't fit the university's imposed racial makeup. Given the Supreme Court's recent decision, do you think race-based preferences and faculty hiring also, would you consider that legal or not legal?
So the decision doesn't directly address race preferences in faculty hiring, but at public schools under the Constitution and under Title VI, which prohibits race preferences by recipients of government money, and Title VII, which generally prohibits race preferences in hiring, yes, racial preferences in hiring are generally illegal. While I believe the decision doesn't directly speak to it, the decision does change the climate and make it clear that the current court is not going to sit by and tolerate discrimination based on race.
Thank you. Mrs. O, there are many who believe that racial discrimination in college admissions is a thing of the past, but you hear from exceptional students every day of being denied admissions despite their academic qualifications. Can you provide an example of a student harmed by racial discrimination in college admissions?
Sure. Just this week, we received a complaint from an outstanding student called Standing John. He is a talent in programming. You know, everybody says computer science is the future for a 21st century. He was hired directly from high school by Google, but rejected by 16 America's top schools like MIT, CMU, and he has outstanding credential academic performance. He also started up a e-signing startup, Rabbit Sign. He won the final list of major global programming competitions. I want to say it's a shame. Our colleges should welcome him because we have STEM talent shortage in this country, but it's appalling for the colleges to ignore this kind of talents. He already filed a civil rights complaint 2 days ago. I hope the U.S. Congress will support his equal treatment complaint.
Thank you.